Welcome to another episode of Grief Talk. Everything you want to know about grief and more. I'm your host, Fawn Solis. As an author, life transformation coach, online instructor, and bereaved mom since 2005, I'll be bringing you great content that is informative, inspiring, and practical. Whether you have suffered a loss or other adversity, stay tuned and tapped in as I cover a variety of topics to help you get where you want to go on your journey to heal and grow. Today's guest is Eva Talaco. Eva is a ceramic artist and certified regenerative lifestyle holistic health coach who is dedicated to holistic healing, now working with a new holistic patented non-pharmaceutical approach to activate the body's stem cells powered by our own light frequency. She is passionate about sharing the potential this therapy has to completely regenerate every cell in our body to help repair, rebuild it, and promote longevity. Eva discovered this therapy and will share her amazing journey to heal and restore her own body and mind after suffering over a decade from severe symptoms of Lyme disease and the challenges this presented in her life. We'll be talking about all this and more, and I can't wait to get started. Okay, so I am so excited to welcome you to the show, Eva. Really happy you're here.
Thank you for inviting me to your show, and hello everybody.
Excellent. Yeah, it's just so wonderful. So as I said, audience, in the introduction today, ahead of this episode, is we're going to be talking today about, and I have to get this right to give honor to it, is stem cell activation therapy. And a lot of you who are listening or watching to this might go, huh, what is that? And I did the same thing. And even when we met, I met her, and we had a very brief chat about this. And I was so eager to learn more about it and really wanted Eva to come on the show. And as I said in the introduction, introduced Eva, she's very much into natural healing, alternative healing, all things nature, good lessons, hard lessons help us learn, hard lessons, right, Eva? Hard lessons help us become our best selves. And I actually agree with all of that. And I too am into alternative healing. My work is with angels. I want to say up front, not to replace traditional medicine or therapy. I'm very clear about that because this is not a medical podcast. This is not you should do this, you should do that. This is just opening one's eyes in anything that is discussed on this podcast, including alternative healing techniques that would include energy work, Reiki. In this case, we're going to be talking about reaching the light within our bodies and whatever else gets discussed on this podcast, just to expand consciousness, just to kind of think about it and go, interesting, and see if and how it impacts your life. For some of us, it impacts more because we have more stuff we're dealing with, or we may have a passion and purpose to move in that direction. So however the conversation affects you, more power to you. So Eva, on that note, I've already introduced very generally who you are, but if you'd like to speak a little bit about, I know that you're into health coaching, and I know you've expanded this into the stem cell activation therapy, which we're going to dive into in just a little bit. But if you could just sort of give the audience a little bit of an idea of what does it mean for you when you call yourself a health coach? What are you actually coaching your clients on, and sort of what is the foundation of your coaching?
Yeah, I through my life experience, I realized that nature has answer for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Europe, and I was exposed to European herbalism and alternative healing through my grandma, what they used to do 2 centuries. And I actually was growing up pretty sick, with very compromised immune system.
Oh.
And I was able to gradually heal myself just this lifestyle and the diet since my childhood, I was artist and I followed that path and went to study art eventually in Prague. And I was living for my art, but I was also I had lifestyle to be connected with nature. I knew how to find food and herbs.
Did you work with I love that you learned from your grandma, because a lot of us have learned from our mothers or grandmothers, women of wisdom. And again, while I really respect anybody in traditional therapy, I think there's room for alternative. And it was interesting, as an aside, our family lived in the Netherlands for 3 years when my son was a newborn. And you know what? It was like totally normal to go to a natural or a homeopath, and covered by insurance and everything. And he was a very sick little guy for the first year with bronchial. And honest to goodness, it was a naturopath that healed him. Do you think it's much more common all across Europe, the concept of alternative healing?
I think it changed a lot, but when I was growing up in former Czechoslovakia, you can buy in pharmacy herbs, herbal teas,
Okay.
like dry herbs
Yeah.
and tinctures and everything. You cannot do it anymore. There are only drugs now. And I was fortunate enough to grow up with all this, and we had big garden. I used to love eating from the garden. This was my lifestyle. I never thought it's something different.
Yes.
Other people, it was something it was so natural to me, and I was just following my art path, and that was my other big passion.
I absolutely believe artistic expression helps us open up our minds, our consciousness. I think it helps us when we're already kind of wired that way. And people don't think that, artistic expression is only for a few. It's in every single one of us, just waiting to be, tapped into and released in some form. But there are many, many art forms too, right? Wouldn't you say, Eva?
Yes, it is. I went to art school when I was 6 years old. My mom encouraged me because she was pediatric nurse, and she understood children development, and she saw that I have some kind of art.
Like that expression inside you, that ability inside you.
I since I could hold pencil in my hand, I was just drawing all the time, and in this public art school, when I was child, I was exposed to many mediums, and later I choose ceramics. I was full-time ceramic artist for a long time.
We're going to talk about that next, audience, because Eva, while we focus back on the fact that we're talking about the stem cell activation therapy today, as a result of your Lyme disease, you had to give up your sculpting. And so I want to move into the part of your life where you developed Lyme disease. And if you could explain like how long it took to sort of get diagnosed and what was going on in your body. Because the reason I'm saying this, because a lot of people, Lyme disease, by the way, folks, it's getting a little bit more in the news lately. And so I think there must be a lot of people living with Lyme disease. And I don't know what the percentage is of people being diagnosed formally with it and then actually seeking treatment. But I just saw someone in a news report who it took 2 years to get a diagnosis, and then traditional therapies didn't work for that person. If you could just explain how you got diagnosed with Lyme, what it was doing to your body, and within that, it led to you giving up being who you identified with.
Yeah, Lyme disease, I want to just note, I have a friend and her husband had heart transplant.
Oh.
Lyme disease also can destroy the heart. I'd like to disclaimer, go to see your doctor. I'm not trying to diagnose on heal or anything like that.
No, you're just explaining what happened to you.
Information. My story with Lyme was I finally got very well when after healing myself from childhood troubles that I had some chronic issues growing up with. I was in really good shape. I was in natural living. I was detoxifying, juicing vegetables, having the garden or eating organic. Uh, and I was visiting my family in year 2000 in Czech Republic.
Mm-hmm.
And I love nature, and I went for a hike there. I was visiting my sister, and it was beautiful mountainous country there.
Mm-hmm.
I just went for a long hike, and I came back, and when my sister came back from work, she noticed tick on me, which I even didn't notice, and she took it off, and it started to act like it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister and brothers are doctors, and she said it needs to be checked.
Mm-hmm. So can I just ask at this point, Eva, was it swelling? Like, was it red and swelling?
It was red. It was started to itch and a little bit kind of burn, and it developed a typical eye. Started to grow, and it was like a rounded kind of red area with rings.
Yes.
The typical uh,
A typical sign of a tick bite. Yeah.
I it was tested positive, but test came after 1 week, and my brother gave me antibiotics for 2 weeks,
Yes.
and I came back to US.
Okay.
I was in great shape and physical shape, and I kind of didn't expect anything. I forgot about it, and I didn't even think about Lyme. I thought antibiotics.
So you basically get bit by a tick. It's putting the infection or disease into your body. You get antibiotics, but you haven't been diagnosed for a week. So then now you know you have Lyme disease. You return to the States from the Czech Republic. You're in a stressful situation. So the question, and then just to interject really quickly, do you think stress has anything to do? This is a personal opinion. Do you think stress has anything to do with the way disease impacted you?
It's impact your immune system.
Yeah. So basically, so it can exacerbate the actual threatening of the immune system. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Okay, so
And I just got in the middle of summer flu, which was very unusual for me. But after that, I was feeling good, and nothing unusual. And it was and when I was feeling something, I was blaming it on stress I was going through. And I just went on with my life, and I was feeling good, and I was starting to have gradually uh, symptoms like really weird things on my hand, sore. And I had my friend who was orthopedic doctor, and he couldn't figure it out. He never seen anything like that. And those were probably first symptoms I was starting to get. Another symptoms, which was really weird. One day I got, without any warning, without any other symptoms, very high fever, and I had it for 1 day and it went away. And then I was, once a while I had like weird symptoms like that.
wow. So what you're sort of talking about here is undiagnosed and strange symptoms that you weren't relating to Lyme disease.
I completely forgot about that event. I got antibiotics, took care of it.
Okay, it's gone. Okay, and so you think it's stress. You think it's stress.
Yeah, and then what started after that, and it took 10 years before I started to get really ill. It was gradual, and next things what I started to feel were my joints.
Okay.
And then pain like fibromyalgia and horrible headaches. That's how it started when I was getting really sick.
Okay.
The joints and headaches, and I couldn't sleep, and it got eventually so bad that doctors were looking for tumor in my brain and couldn't find anything.
Wow.
My eyes hurt, and I started to water. Then the joint pain started to be so severe that I started to have hard time to walk.
Yeah.
I started to get very fatigued and also couldn't sleep at night, and that's how it started, and that get me disabled. That was the moment when it got so bad that we decided to sell the house, and I couldn't do anything physical anymore. We sold my studio, a house with my studio, and I couldn't continue doing my art or anything physical, working in my garden, hiking,
Yeah.
everything I loved. I had to give up.
Yeah.
We moved on the boat.
That's great.
It was 50 foot at Monk sailboat, and it was like a nice cabin. It was very comfortable inside.
Were you actually sailing or were you like docked in port at the marina? Oh, okay. But did you I'm not going to ask you why you did that, but I'm wondering if there are benefits like to being on and near the ocean. Like even if it was just mentally calming for you, did it help living on the boat?
It's helped after I bought my home like in 2003, and I bought it between three solar towers, not thinking about it how it could affect.
Yeah.
We decided to move to warmer climate.
Oh,
Our
okay.
house, because we couldn't change anything about it.
Yeah.
We were trying and we couldn't do anything about it.
So, but at this stage, you still don't know that these symptoms are Lyme disease related, but you're aware enough to understand you needed to change your environment in more than just the physical because of your increasing disability, but also weather. You're thinking, I want to be warmer, and
Yeah.
okay,
We had that last winter before we moved. We had -30. It was very, very cold winter.
yeah,
Before we moved, I was going to doctors because I had those weird symptoms and getting sicker and sicker. And I couldn't understand why, because I was living completely natural lifestyle.
yeah. Oh my gosh,
Couldn't put it together what's going on with me.
yeah.
And doctors were just collecting diagnosis for me,
Yes.
pushing medications which I wasn't taking.
Yeah. So you didn't want the medications, and so you're basically suffering through this, right?
Actually, I was taking some pain medication because it got so bad that
Yeah.
I had to take something, but I didn't like it.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to interject here too for the audience that even though I am non-intervention for medications and I have a doctor that supports that, I will say that sometimes we have to take something for even a short period of time. But my experience has been that, and this is just my experience, not even an opinion, just my experience, that if you get the right natural things, they actually work better than the traditional things. And I didn't want to incapacitate myself in any way by side effects of medications, but I respect the importance of them at certain times in my life and for certain situations. I just want to get that out there. So you move, and is this when you came out west?
We moved to Olympia and lived
Yeah.
on the boat. Yeah, what Lyme disease does, it creates inflammation in the body wherever it gets.
Okay.
Why is it hard to detect it? Uh, After 40 something hours,
Yeah.
it's not in the bloodstream anymore. It hides in the tissue. That's why it's so difficult to test it.
Your experience, does modern medicine not test tissue?
Blood
Oh, they
test. I later, when I traveled to Czech Republic, because you also cannot test. There are different species of Lyme, and the European one they don't have tests for it in US, then I even couldn't be tested.
Okay, so we're just talking about what happened at the time for you, and we're in what year right now?
2011. I probably felt a little better that ocean has lots of negative ions. I had even better access to a really good, healthy, organic food. For a while, I felt a little better, but then not enough to
Get back to your old self.
get back. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was happening with Lyme also, you feel okay. And I was able to go and trying to meet people. And then next day you cannot do anything. You feel so sick that you cannot get out of the bed. The symptoms comes and goes. And they could be different. They move also. That's typical for Lyme disease.
So that makes life extremely unpredictable. No planning.
I think what's the biggest factor is also toxicity. Our body is coping with so many toxins that has big effect on it too.
Yeah. So at this point, you're suffering for several years. So at what point were you introduced to the stem cell activation therapy? At this point now, you're just living almost in a status quo, very debilitated, have to give up everything, your life as an artist, your home, everything you knew, the area, your geographic area. You're on a boat, which in and of itself could be absolutely fantastic, but you may not want to be there permanently. But more importantly, this has got to be creating within you a feeling of hopelessness. What were you feeling being like this? Were you resigned to it?
No, I didn't resign. I was fighting.
You're a little fighter, Eva, right?
I knew so much about natural healing. Basically make healing sanctuary from our body.
Got it.
I got detox, ionic detox.
Okay.
I was doing essential oils, herbs, medicinal mushrooms. I don't know if I forgot anything. I was healing myself.
Yeah. So were some of these different alternative therapies working in your body, do you think? Like, were you feeling better?
Yeah, actually, what happened, first I didn't know I still have a Lyme disease. It kind of, I think I find about it in 2013 or around that time.
Wow.
And it was started to get worse. And I started to have brain symptoms and tremors. Like I had moments I couldn't speak. I was just producing sound. I went to pick up my husband to work, and I knew where he works, and I got lost. I was getting lost. I was getting disoriented. That was my brain symptoms. I remember it.
I did want to ask you, and I'm thinking about this poor family that just lost their daughter to suicide because they specifically said it had reached into her brain. Do you know, again, from your personal experience, what the Lyme disease was doing to your brain? So you have the cognitive impairment.
Inflammation.
Inflammation.
Okay. And
of like the brain tissue, like the tissue?
Kruger kind of shaped microorganism, and it just goes through tissue everywhere where it wants to hide. When it wants to go inside, hiding from immune system, when it's chronic, it's not in the blood anymore. And when you detoxify and killing it, when you are killing it, it's so toxic that it would make you even more ill. Then you need to, detoxification is number one.
Yeah.
I also made a friend who is a colonic therapist, and she once saved my life. My liver was, I was getting yellow, and I was feeling very ill. Also, we had one of the best specialists for Lyme disease, doctor in Seattle, and also there is more specialists for Lyme. I started to listen through my friend colonic therapist. She said, "I having clients like you, and they have Lyme disease." And I said, no, I got antibiotics. I was in denial for a little bit, but then I started to look into it, and it made perfect sense to me. And that's basically how I diagnosed myself that it's still
healed.
And at that moment, I was started to search and educate myself about Lyme disease.
Yeah.
And I find I was able to get protocols from these doctors, what they do. And I get the protocols connected with some people who also healed themselves from Lyme disease. And I started to see progress, but it was like 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Isn't it wonderful when we finally know what's wrong with us and we actually get a diagnosis? And then we can have, I wasn't diagnosed with PTSD for almost 10 years. And once I did, I was like you, I took action. And while I am not healed from it by any means, I certainly can manage things a lot better. And I'm on the healing journey to, and again, I'm not saying that to fully heal in my case, I'd probably have to work with a specialist in that area. But the fact that you even know what's wrong with you gives you so many options. So I just want to throw that in.
I want to add, it was later confirmed. I had I met a doctor who had a biofeedback, could read all the frequency in your body and analyze it in computer. That's how I got diagnosis. It diagnosed that I still have Lyme disease, and I also was going to chiropractor. He was doing some natural techniques, and through energy, he also diagnosed me with Lyme disease. Like that was happening a little later.
That is so encouraging. Like there are people in some traditional medical roles who, and this isn't new, that actually, kind of move a little bit. They work a little bit in alternative too, and they blend it a little bit. And if you can find someone like that, that is like amazing.
When it was confirmed, it took me 40 years with self-healing. I started to believe that I healed myself, that what I experiencing. I also had with Lyme really bad inflammation on my skin, on my face, with redness and sores. It was diagnosed like a rosacea, but it was like big sores and redness in my face, and it was really uncomfortable to look like that.
Yeah, that's something that we're not really talking about today, but it's such an interesting point to bring up is that when you, I guess, are living with something that changes your physical appearance, that has got to be incredibly tough, right?
When I went through my healing journey, I started to believe I think light in the tunnel. And I started to feel like I could function, semi-function, kind of. Still had problems. My joints felt like still couldn't sleep, still feeling pretty fatigued. But it wasn't that severe like it used to be. The pain wasn't that severe. I still had headaches, still had really bad joint pain. But my knees were completely shut. I had surgery also in both of my knees from ski accident.
The Lyme even attacked your knees.
Yeah, that's where I basically started to first big symptoms. It was in my joint.
In your knees.
They like Lyme likes to go in the joint,
Lyme likes to go in the joints.
cause inflammation.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just asking a question here, and you may not be able to answer it, but in your experience, and even maybe in some medical research you've come across or spoken with doctors, are the symptoms of Lyme, given that it likes to go into the joints, how similar is it to fibromyalgia?
Lyme caused fibromyalgia, and I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. I had pain everywhere. I was in so much pain, like headaches, unbearable headaches when I was going through that, and pain in everywhere, and plus joint pain. It was so painful.
So Lyme actually led to you having fibro, but that's not to say that everybody who has fibro had Lyme disease. Not true. At this point, moving ahead, so you're in this semi, I'm not going to say recovery, but you're feeling better. You might say recovery, but you're feeling better. And so, how long had you been living with Lyme disease at this point?
Um, yeah, I got infected in 2000 and it was like basically over 20 years.
20 years. Okay. So at this point, you're how did you come across the stem cell activation therapy, which we really want to start talking about, because this has been the biggest advancement for you in your healing with Lyme, has it not?
Yeah, it was because when I get at this point, I felt like I can function. I felt better, but
Yeah.
I still in pain, couldn't sleep. And
And what year was this, Eva? I would just want to sort of chart the journey.
2019,
So you still couldn't go back and work with your ceramics, could you, at this point?
I could do it kind of not full time like I used to. I could
Okay.
travel like I used to. I used to travel all over US with my art.
And still were you living with this unpredictability of not knowing how you're going to feel from day to day?
Yeah, my headaches were almost they were just uh, coming like once a month. They weren't like constant headaches like I used to have.
Okay.
I felt much better because I felt really ill before.
Yeah.
It was big improvement for me.
Yeah.
Like I felt like even I could even do things with pain like I had.
Yeah. And what were you attributing this healing to at this point? Just to recap that. What in your mind, if I said to you, and I am asking you, so Eva, what was the biggest one or two contributing or more factors, therapies or practices that you felt, even in and including if it was just time in your mind, that was helping you to feel better?
Trying uh, many things and rotating them and trying what I saw in the protocols, doing ozone therapy, detoxification was number one.
If you're when you're diagnosed by a doctor with Lyme disease, and if they're looking at a prognosis, would they say to you, or did they say to you, this is going to be a really long haul for you, and we can try different interventions, would try different medications? Like, are you just sort of expected to live with Lyme disease for many, many years, like people do live with it for many, many years?
Allopathic medicine didn't show me anything that could help me.
Okay. Okay.
Only if it's addressed like in 40 hours, those antibiotics would work. It needs to be addressed much sooner. Antibiotics could work at beginning. When it gets chronic like this,
Yeah.
um, uh, allopathic medicine didn't have any answer for me. I learned all this because when I learned, I still have a Lyme. I started to research
Of course.
and I was signing for they were summits and presentations about Lyme.
If we are living with something that we just can't heal today, then we learn how to manage it. Okay, so let's get to the stem cell activation. When that came for you in about, what was it, 2019 that you learned about this?
Summer 2019, and basically I was feeling when I found this, I was feeling like I have just damage in my body from all that what I was going through, and I was still dealing with some inflammation and all the damage. And um, when I tried first time, my friend approached me if I like to try it, and I was pretty still desperate and to try anything what could help me because I was at that moment hurting pretty bad because it was after my trip to Europe when I saw my parents last time, and it was very stressful time, and I'm also sensitive to frequencies, and something triggered on the trip and I got very ill there again. I came home very ill, and then I was in lots of pain actually when I was introduced to this therapy.
So you're a little bit hesitant about it, or were you like, "Oh, I can hardly wait to try something new"? What when you first heard about this? What did you think?
Before I try anything, I look into it. And I already looked at it once long time ago, and I thought, it's too expensive. I kind of this time I was open to it.
I guess you reach a point when you're in really severe physical decline or illness that you're almost ready to do just about anything when you've had enough about anything in life. You really get to that point when you go, no, I got to do something. So your first experience with it. So if we to sort of condense a little bit of this because I want to get to what the stem cell activation therapy can actually how it can actually help any of us in different ways. But for you, and I'll be really clear, or you can be really clear with audience. This is a patch that you wear for a limited time, like 12 hours for a certain period of time. And you and I talked about this a little bit previous because I'm quite interested in it for myself, but I need to figure out what I would want to use it for. But and you can talk about this, but basically, so people understand, this is a little patch that you wear and I would think depending what you're treating, you wear it at a different point in your body.
You don't treat anything. It's a therapy. It doesn't. It's not treatment. And those patches stimulate your body to heal itself.
Can you choose where to wear it, or are you directed where to wear it depending what you want to treat?
Yes, you can. This one you can put anywhere on the body. If you have problem, you can put it on that problem or near to that problem.
When you were given this and you said, yes, I'm going to try this, what happened to you and in what time frame did you start noticing results? That's what I'm really curious about.
It was 3 weeks after I returned from Europe, and it was 3 weeks. There is jet lag. Then I thought, okay, it's jet lag, but it was already 3 weeks, and I couldn't sleep. Tired, and I was in so much pain, and I was walking on the cane. I couldn't walk. My knees were so shut and inflamed, and my rash came back on my face in pretty bad shape. And I find the patches again. And what happened? First day, I put it on in the morning, they uh, uh, they showed. I didn't know anything. I never tried before. I didn't know much about it, but we researched it with my husband deeply, and we believed in it. And I put it on, and I didn't feel anything. And I had a meeting in Olympia. We already moved from both. I was living 1 year in house. And it's a 1 hour drive, and I got very tired. I had to stop and take a nap. I was so tired and sleepy. And then at night, I slept like I haven't slept like for 20 years or longer. And I woke up, and my pain, like from somewhere like 8, 9, was about 3.
How long had you been wearing the patch at this point?
This was after first day.
So you saw immediate results in sleep.
Not usual. Not everybody
Yeah.
instant results like that, but I did. You wear this patch for 12 hours because it stimulates body to heal itself, then to avoid overstimulation, and body would stop responding. And I wear this patch every day since.
When you find something, it's like gold when you want to fix something, isn't it? Isn't it? It's just like gold.
After 3 months using it, I started to really learn about those patches. And I was just customer at that point. I was starting to learn about them, and I was exposed also to so many life-changing testimonial at this point. And third month, I felt like I have new knees.
So you basically got a new lease on life.
I'm feeling I can do almost anything now. I still kind of sometimes I feel a little bit my knees when I go up the steep hill or down the steep hill.
In terms of inflammation, in terms of insomnia, in terms of energy, in terms of headaches, and all those things that were physical, it's all gone, eh?
It's all gone, and I have energy during the day.
And you're going back to your art, aren't you?
Yeah, I almost finished my studio. It's already. I will start to work there probably end of this or next month somewhere.
Right. One thing, so I know the results are there, and you look as if you're absolutely healthy. So that's fantastic. If we could just talk briefly, as we come to a close on this, and I did just at this point want to point out that I will have links in the description below to how people can contact you, how people can research more on stem cell activation therapy on their own, and so on. And you have a beautiful website, very thorough website. So it's very easy to navigate. You've got a blog, you've got the recipes, you've got how to contact you, how to work with you, and so on and so forth. So very, very informative. But moving beyond now into a more general discussion about stem cell activation therapy, and we are not pushing anybody. I don't use it at this point. We are not pushing anybody to use this. I'm trying on this podcast episode just to have myself and others who are interested in thinking a little differently. So I remember saying to you the last time we talked, I said, this therapy proves that we have light in our body. And you said, yes. And it's so cool because it reminds me of photographers who are dedicated to taking photography of our aura and things like that. And so I'm fascinated by us as light beings, but that's another topic. So basically, and we're not going to get into the science of it, but can you just briefly say, you've said it a few times, but just to remind people, this is a patch it was certified in the United States. It went all through, the patented technology, but it was passed by, was it the CDA in the States? Like it is a legit scientific therapy. Is it a breakthrough technology that they have, after years and years of research, understood the body in light?
This technology was discovered by David Schmidt. He's a scientist, and he used to work for Navy SEALs. He was trying to develop something for Navy SEALs that they don't have to take drugs when they are not sleeping. That's how he started with those patches. They are technology that traps it's a organic crystal embedded in the patch. The crystal is programmed with patented frequency. The crystal traps light that's coming out of our body and reflects it back into the body with that certain frequency that was programmed with.
So back into the cells of our body.
And that triggers certain healing, depends what patch you are using. As we age, our stem cell production declining. That's why we are aging, and we have harder and harder time to heal as we get older. This therapy, it activates your own stem cells, that you start to produce your own stem cells from your own body. They get active, and those new stem cells goes wherever it needs to get here on priority of survival. That's why some people don't feel it immediately, because if it's in the brain, you don't feel it. If it's in the gut, you might not even feel it, that something is getting repaired. And those new stem cells goes and replace damaged and old cells. And basically, it's rebuilding your body from inside out.
It's so interesting and exciting for me. I'm going to say that grief and trauma can impact the cells just like a physical disease could. I don't want to get too deep in the conversation, but what I would just ask is whether or not they talk about it in any of the material that you could use this therapy to improve mental health, to treat depression. I know you said to me you get depressed from illness, but do they have anything that would target that specifically, and or even grief and trauma?
This company has everything backed up by research, and they did study on the brain with this patch, and they had really positive results of brain regeneration. And also it helps sleep if you don't sleep. And they have also another type of the patch that helps calm you down. It's calming patch, nervous system, and helps with sleep and inflammation.
Eva, that sounds so fantastic. What I want to leave my audience with is just links that you, if you are interested in something like this, for anything you're living with that you're not feeling that you're being satisfactorily treating, or you just want more for things like energy, fatigue. For me, and I think Eva, you might agree with this, we are not looking for substitutes. We are looking for enhancements in our life. This is not a supplement. This is just something else to consider as something that may or may not make you feel better. I'm assuming this company stands by their product. Do they refund you if you're not happy?
30 days money back guarantee.
And I love companies that do that. So again, we're not trying to convince anybody here, Eva. I'm just very grateful that you are willing to come on the show and talk about your experience. It's the only way I feel through our stories and our experience that we can help other people understand they're not alone in their journey. We're responsible for our own healing, but I'm telling you, healing comes from sharing, in my opinion and my experience. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's this connection with people.
Because you're probably going to agree with this as well. Whatever we're afflicted with, whether it's full-on disability, whether it's debilitating grief symptoms or debilitation and limitations from chronic illness, it does make you feel very alone and isolated. And it can make you, I mean, listen, you're a survivor and you were naturally raised as a child, in your getting it right back to childhood, in your alternative healing, and your grandma and your mom supporting who you were as this person who's, just wired that way to not give up. And a lot of that might have come also just from your own constitution, but also being nurtured to pursue what you loved and who you could be. And in our hearts, I believe that we know we're not here to be really ill, weak people. It's not fun feeling, weak and vulnerable and incapacitated. It's not fun. And you and I on this call didn't get to talk about what it was like to lose your identity as a result of something happening to you, like your Lyme, like my loss of a child. And that just throws a whole bunch of other complications into the healing journey. So that's why every little bit that can help, that feels right for us as individuals, I have always been open to listening and considering, and then making a decision based on what I need and want for myself. So on that note, people can find you on certain social media. They can certainly connect with you through your website and get more information there. The other thing I just want to quickly say before closing is, as we heal, sometimes it takes other people to mirror back to us our own strengths and our own success of our healing. Or sometimes it can even take a family member to say, my goodness, you're coming so far. Because the other thing, that illness and all the things we've talked about today that have negatively impacted our lives, sometimes we really can't see the physical changes when we're starting to look brighter. We can feel when we have more energy and stuff like that, but we sometimes can't really see those changes, those physical changes happening for ourselves. So it's really wonderful to hear a positive outcome, a positive story from you, Eva, like a successful story, because we can see it. You're an actual living demonstration of something working for your life and not giving up. And for that, I really, again, thank you for sharing and providing hope and inspiration to other people.
I like to say that I still getting once a while contact by people if I can help with Lyme. What I most time do, I just give them information what I learn about it, just sharing what I can with them. If someone really would like coaching, I still can do it. But
yeah,
I feel more purposeful helping people with those patches, because I have seen such a life-changing stories.
Well, we teach what we experience, and you're experiencing living proof of healing through this stem cell activation therapy. And what's worked for you may not work for another person in the same way or to the same degree or at all. But that's not the point. The point is you're on the planet doing what you're meant to do right at this moment and share about this technology. Like in Lyme disease, the more people that go, I have those symptoms, I have those symptoms, it helps people say, ask their medical practitioner, can you test me for Lyme? Just like I can say to people who are in severe, severe trauma and grief to go to their doctor and say, can you help me understand whether I may have PTSD? And then then the doctor can work with them. But let's just close with understanding for anybody, these patches are designed for treating much more than Lyme disease. And Eva's links can direct you to all that information. So thanks again, Eva.
Thank you.